Jackie Chan was sitting in a McDonald's in Los Angeles, enjoying a rare moment of tranquility when a 5-year-old boy, holding a broken toy car, approached and whispered something in his ear. Immediately, Jackie paled and dialed 911. What happens next will move everyone. Before we continue this story, tell us where you're watching from. If you like stories like this, subscribe to the channel, because tomorrow we'll have another special narrative for you. It was a Sunday afternoon in Los Angeles. The sky was an impeccable blue, with just a few lazy clouds drifting gently, while the warmth of the sun reflected off the iconic Hollywood signs. Jackie Chan, known for his humility and charisma, was driving towards a charity event for underprivileged children. He had just spent several hours involved in activities, donating his time and energy to a cause he was deeply passionate about. After the event, feeling tired but wearing a peaceful smile, Jackie decided to do something different. Instead of going straight home or choosing a fancy restaurant, he stopped at a McDonald's on a busy avenue. Why not? He thought. He missed simple moments like this, where he could relax away from the incessant media spotlight. Inside the restaurant, the atmosphere was welcoming, despite the usual hustle and bustle. Families were scattered around the tables, children were laughing as they played in the small playground, and the sound of orders being called out echoed in the air. The familiar aroma of fries and burgers filled the space, awakening a nostalgic feeling. Jackie entered discreetly, wearing a simple black t-shirt and sunglasses, a combination that highlighted his casual, relaxed style. He placed a modest order at the counter and found a seat in a quiet corner of the restaurant. With his cell phone switched off, he allowed himself to observe his surroundings. For him, this was a rare moment of disconnection from his hectic life. While he was eating, something caught his eye. A boy sitting at a nearby table kept staring at him. He was a child with messy blonde hair, wearing a slightly faded blue shirt. In his hands, he held a broken toy car, clutching it to his chest as if it were his greatest treasure. The boy seemed hesitant, his eyes shining with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. Jackie smiled slightly, finding the scene endearing, but soon returned to her snack. However, he noticed that the boy was still watching him, as if he was gathering the courage to do something. At the same table, next to the boy, was a man. Tall, well-dressed, wearing an impeccable suit and maintaining a rigid posture. The man seemed engrossed in a phone call. His expression was serious and cold, casting disapproving glances at every movement the boy made, as if even breathing out of rhythm was a nuisance. Jackie couldn't help but notice the tension at the table. The contrast between the boy and the man was striking. While the boy seemed small and vulnerable, the man emanated authority and control. As the minutes passed, the boy's nervousness increased until he finally did the unexpected. With timid steps, he got down from the chair, holding the broken trolley against his chest. His eyes didn't stray from Jackie as he walked slowly towards her. The restaurant seemed to grow quieter, as if the world around was slowing down. Jackie noticed the boy approaching and put the burger down on the table, turning completely towards him. When the boy stopped next to his chair, his eyes were filled with something Jackie couldn't immediately identify. A mixture of fear, determination, and hope. The boy leaned over, his small body trembling slightly. He opened his mouth and began to speak, but his voice was so low that Jackie had to lean closer. What the boy whispered surprised the actor, but the moment was interrupted before Jackie could react. The man at the table, noticing the boy's absence, turned abruptly. His eyes fixed on Jackie, and something in his gaze sent a shiver down the actor's spine. The man stood up slowly, adjusting his jacket as he walked towards them. Jackie kept his posture calm, but something in his expression changed. He knew that this seemingly random encounter was about to transform his life in ways he couldn't yet imagine. The restaurant was now busier, filled with the sound of voices and laughter echoing as families enjoyed their meals. For Jackie, however, all this seemed distant. He focused on the boy in front of him, trying to understand why he was approaching. The boy, who was holding the broken trolley tightly, looked briefly over his shoulder towards the table he had come from. Sitting there was the man Jackie now knew as Mr. Harris. He was watching them intently, still holding the phone, with a cold, intimidating look on his face. The boy quickly looked away. As if afraid of what might happen, Ethan looked away. Jackie bent down to the boy's height and spoke in as calm a voice as she could manage. "Ethan, it's okay. You can tell me what's going on." The boy hesitated, clutching the hem of his faded blue shirt with his free hand. His restless eyes scanned the room, making sure no one else was listening. Finally, in a voice so low it was barely audible, he answered, "I can't talk here. He'll get angry." Jackie took a deep breath. He could sense Ethan's fear, but whatever it was, it had to be serious for the boy to seek help from a stranger. Jackie nodded, trying to reassure him. "It's okay, Ethan. You're safe now." Before Jackie could continue, Harris stood up from his chair. He adjusted his jacket with calculated movements and started walking towards them. His steps were firm, and although his expression remained controlled, there was a hint of irritation in his countenance. Jackie stood up slowly, positioning herself between Ethan and Harris as the man approached. Harris stopped a few steps away, forcing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "I apologize for that. Ethan can be a bit too curious at times. I hope he didn't bother you." Jackie remained calm, staring at Harris. Years of experience in dealing with people had taught him to trust his instincts, and something about this man set off all the warning bells. Without looking away, Jackie replied with a relaxed smile, "Actually, he was just showing me his toy car. It seems to be broken. It must be very important to him." Harris narrowed his eyes for a moment before replying with another forced expression. "Oh yes, he's very attached to that baby carriage." Then he held out his hand to Ethan. "Come on, Ethan, it's time to go." But Ethan took a step back, partially hiding behind Jackie. He didn't say anything, but the gesture was enough to wear down Harris's patience. His smile faltered for a moment, and he let out an irritated sigh. "Look, I appreciate entertaining you, but we have an appointment. Excuse me." Harris tried to reach Ethan, but Jackie gently placed a hand on the man's shoulder, interrupting his movement. "Appointments can wait. I think Ethan needs a moment. He seemed eager to talk about the trolley. Maybe we can sort it out first." Just then, a waitress who had been watching the growing tension approached, holding a tray. "Is everything all right here?" she asked, casting a suspicious glance at Harris. Jackie smiled at her. "Everything's under control. Actually, could you get Ethan a drink? I think he needs something." The waitress nodded, but cast one more cautious glance at Harris before walking away. As soon as she left, Jackie discreetly picked up his cell phone and began typing a message to an emergency contact. He knew he had to act fast. Harris noticed the movement and took a step forward. "I don't know what you think you're doing, but this has gone far enough," he said, his tone becoming increasingly firm. He tried to keep control, but his eyes betrayed his growing impatience. Jackie smiled again, although her expression was now more serious. "I'm just trying to help a boy who seems to need someone to listen to him. I'm sure you understand that." Ethan, still clutching the broken trolley, finally spoke. His trembling voice broke the silence. "I don't want to go. Please, can I stay here?" The boy's simple request made Harris freeze for a moment. He looked at Jackie, his countenance hardening, before saying, "I suggest you don't get involved where you don't belong." Jackie kept her composure, but knew she was dealing with something much more complicated than she had first imagined. Ethan was clearly afraid, and any wrong move could put him in danger. Jackie pressed the send button on her cell phone. The message asking for help was already on its way. Harris fixed his gaze on Jackie, and the two were locked in a silent confrontation. "Something tells me this is far from over," thought Jackie. The air in the restaurant seemed heavier, despite the sound of voices and laughter in the background. Jackie, standing between Ethan and Harris, felt the weight of the situation. The boy, small and vulnerable, clutched the baby carriage to his chest as if it were his shield against the world. His anxious eyes were fixed on Jackie. Jackie bent down again, trying to reassure him. Her voice was soft, almost a whisper. "You can tell me what's going on. I'm here to listen." Ethan looked around nervously, checking to see if Harris was still watching them. The man, now sitting back down at the table, had a fixed, menacing look on his face, his phone still in his hand, as if he was waiting for something. Ethan gripped the trolley tighter and took a step closer. The boy leaned slightly towards Jackie and muttered, "He did something bad to my mom. Can you help?" Jackie froze for a moment. Ethan's low, trembling voice carried something he recognized immediately, a plea for help. He knew that now was not the time for unnecessary questions. The priority now was to ensure the boy's safety. Jackie looked straight into Ethan's eyes. "It's all right, I'll help, I promise." Ethan nodded shyly, but the fear in his eyes didn't disappear. He glanced at Harris again, as if fearing that he already knew what he had just said. Harris noticed the exchange between Ethan and Jackie and stood up abruptly. Adjusting his jacket with slow, deliberate steps, he walked towards them both. His forced smile couldn't disguise the growing irritation in his expression. "Sorry to interrupt, but Ethan and I are just leaving. Thanks for entertaining him," said Harris, reaching out to take the boy. Before he could touch him, Jackie stood up, blocking his way. Although her posture remained relaxed, something in her expression made Harris hesitate. "He's still telling me about the cart. I think he wants a few more minutes," said Jackie, her voice calm but firm. Harris narrowed his eyes, clearly annoyed by the interference. "That's very kind of you, but he's with me. We have an appointment." Jackie didn't move. She stood firm, looking straight at Harris. "Children need time to talk. I'm sure you understand that, right?" For a moment, Harris seemed to lose patience, but quickly regained his controlled expression. "Of course, but we can't waste any time." He then turned his attention to Ethan, who was now hiding behind Jackie. "Come on, Ethan, it's time to go." Before Harris could insist, the waitress appeared again, holding a notepad. Discreetly, she placed a folded piece of paper on the table where Jackie was standing, pretending it was a napkin. Jackie took the paper and quickly read, "The police are on their way." A wave of relief washed over him, but he knew the danger wasn't over yet. He looked at Ethan and offered a small, reassuring smile before turning to Harris again. "How about we all sit down for a moment? It looks like Ethan just needs a little time to breathe. Sometimes children just want to be heard." Jackie kept her tone steady but firm. Harris gave her a cold look, but eventually agreed with a slight, reluctant nod. He returned to the table, but his eyes never left Jackie and Ethan. He mumbled into the phone, clearly more agitated with each passing moment. Jackie knew that time was running out. He needed to protect Ethan and at the same time find out more about what was going on. Harris ended the call and stood up again, adjusting his jacket with stiff movements. He glared hard at Jackie and Ethan, his expression now darker and more threatening. "You have no idea what you're getting yourself into," Harris muttered, starting to walk towards the exit. Jackie knew that the next decision would be crucial. The moment of truth was fast approaching. Harris headed for the door with calculated steps, each movement carefully measured. Jackie watched him closely, fully aware that any impulsive action could make matters worse. Ethan remained close to Jackie, clutching the trolley to his chest, his eyes fixed on the floor. The silence between them was broken only by the muffled sound of conversations in the restaurant. Harris stopped near the entrance, pretending to adjust his jacket, but Jackie noticed something in his movements. He didn't look casual. He seemed to be assessing his surroundings, perhaps planning his next move. Harris reached into his inside jacket pocket and pulled out his cell phone, typing something quickly before returning to the table. The waitress, who remained vigilant, approached Jackie discreetly and whispered, "The police are on their way. They'll be here in a few minutes." Jackie nodded subtly, keeping her eyes on Harris. The man was sitting down again, but his posture had changed. He seemed more tense, checking his cell phone frequently. Jackie recognized this as a clear sign that Harris was preoccupied with the situation or trying to regain control before the police arrived. Harris emanated an aura of authority. His gestures were precise and his words carefully chosen. When he noticed that Jackie was still watching him, he finally broke the silence. "You seem very interested in our conversation, Mr. Chan." Jackie kept his expression neutral. Ethan looked scared. "I'm just trying to understand why." Harris let out a dry, humorless laugh. "Children have fertile imaginations. They make things up. They exaggerate. You of all people should know that, right? In your job, you deal with stories all the time." He gestured towards Ethan. "Maybe that's the case here." Jackie crossed her arms, keeping calm. "Maybe, but children are also more honest than adults. They say what they feel, even if they don't always know how to express it." Harris leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table. "So why don't we let Ethan decide? Ethan, do you want to leave now, or would you rather stay here and keep talking to our friend?" Ethan hesitated. He looked at Jackie and then at Harris. His trembling hand squeezed the trolley even tighter, as if drawing strength from it. Finally, he answered in an almost inaudible whisper, "I want to stay here." Ethan's words made Harris clench his fists for a moment, but he quickly regained his composure. His smile seemed even more forced now. "Very well, but I hope this doesn't take too long." While Harris kept his posture in check, the waitress returned, this time with another note for Jackie. She placed a glass on the table and left the folded paper underneath. Jackie noticed the discreet movement and picked up the note carefully. It read, "They'll be here in 2 minutes. Hang in there." Jackie knew he needed to buy time. She turned to Ethan, trying to divert the conversation to something safer. "Ethan, you mentioned that your mother is hurt. Do you know where she is now?" Ethan started to answer, but stopped abruptly when Harris slammed his hand on the table hard enough to attract his attention. "No more questions, Chan. This is none of your business." Jackie slowly turned to Harris. Her voice was still calm, but there was an unmistakable weight to her words. "If she's hurt, then it's everyone's business, especially mine." Harris leaned forward, fixing his eyes on Jackie's. "I suggest you stop now. You don't know who you're dealing with." Jackie knew he was dealing with someone dangerous. He held Harris's gaze for a few moments before slowly standing up, signaling Ethan to stay by his side. "If you want to talk about it, we can do it in a civilized way. Or you can wait here until the police arrive." Jackie's words made Harris freeze for a moment. His expression hardened as he looked around, realizing that the situation was getting out of hand. Outside, 2 vehicles parked at the entrance to McDonald's. 2 policemen got out and entered the restaurant with firm steps. Harris spotted them immediately and stood up, adjusting his jacket while glancing at Jackie. "You've made a big mistake," he muttered, taking a step towards the exit. Jackie, still standing next to Ethan, knew that this was the moment to act. He had to make sure Harris didn't escape. The glass doors of the McDonald's opened, and the 2 uniformed policemen entered with determination. Their gazes quickly caught the tension at the table where Jackie, Ethan, and Harris were sitting. The waitress, visibly nervous, pointed discreetly in their direction with a slight nod. Jackie remained calm, but felt Ethan squeeze his arm tightly. The boy's small body trembled. Jackie quickly bent down and whispered, "It's all right now. They're here to help." Harris, on the other hand, straightened up, adjusting his jacket again with controlled movements. His posture exuded a mixture of arrogance and contempt. He looked at the policeman as if he was already preparing for a confrontation. The two policemen, a tall man identified as Officer Ramirez and a woman called Vega, approached the table with serious expressions. Ramirez spoke first. "We received a call about a possible problem here. Is everything all right?" Harris offered a rehearsed smile. "Everything's fine, officer. There must have been some misunderstanding. I'm just here with my son, enjoying the day." Before the officers could respond, Jackie intervened. She stood up slowly, holding Ethan close to her. "Officers, I think you should hear what the boy has to say." Ramirez turned his attention to Ethan, who was looking nervously at the ground. Vega bent down to the boy's height and smiled gently. "Hello, my name is Vega. Can you tell me your name?" Ethan hesitated, looking at Jackie for support. Jackie nodded, giving the boy's shoulder a gentle squeeze. Finally, Ethan murmured, "Ethan." Vega repeated softly, "Ethan, it's okay. You can tell us what's going on." "We're here to help." Ethan's eyes alternated between Vega and Harris, whose calm expression changed to irritation. "Don't say anything, Ethan, let's go," said Harris, his voice now sharper. Ramirez stepped forward, blocking Harris's path. "I suggest you stay where you are, sir. We're not going anywhere until we understand what's going on here." The presence of the police seemed to give Ethan a little more courage. He finally looked up and spoke, his voice soft but clear. "He hurt my mother and said that no one can help us." The restaurant fell silent. Ramirez and Vega exchanged glances as Jackie lowered herself back down next to Ethan. "You did the right thing by telling us," said Jackie with an encouraging smile. Harris's patience ran out. "This is ridiculous. He's just a child. He's making things up. My lawyer will love that." Harris tried to move forward, but Ramirez put a firm hand on his chest, stopping him. "Let's get this straight first, sir. Stay where you are." Vega turned to Ethan. "Ethan, do you know where your mother is right now? Is she at home?" Ethan nodded, but his face showed deep concern. She can't get up. He said no one would believe me." Jackie squeezed Ethan's shoulder again, conveying comfort. "We believe you. It's all right now." Harris let out a dry, forced laugh. "This is absurd. Are you really going to listen to a child instead of a responsible adult? I won't stand for it." Ramirez remained calm. "It looks like we have sufficient grounds to investigate the situation. We're going to need you to accompany us." Harris took a step back, his eyes now filled with anger. "You have no idea who you're dealing with." He tried to leave, but Vega acted quickly. With a firm movement, he grabbed Harris's arm, while Ramirez intervened to restrain him. "Are you resisting a police order?" Vega asked, his voice firm. The officers put the handcuffs on Harris, securing his wrists firmly. Jackie watched, standing next to Ethan, protecting him. The boy looked slightly relieved, but still visibly shaken. "He's lying," muttered Harris, as the officers escorted him out of the restaurant. Jackie turned to Ethan and asked gently, "Do you want to show me where your mother is? We can go there now with the police." Ethan nodded slowly, holding the broken toy car in one hand and Jackie's hand in the other. He whispered, "I just want her to be okay." Jackie felt a tightness in his chest, but he knew it was time to act. He turned to the officers. "Let's go to his house. There's still a lot to do." The restaurant had calmed down, but tension remained in the air. The customers watched in silence, some whispering among themselves as Harris was taken away by the officers. Inside, Jackie stayed close to Ethan, making sure the boy felt safe. Ethan continued to hold his broken trolley with trembling hands. Jackie crouched down next to him again. "Ethan, let's sort this out. The police are here to help us. Do you want to tell me more about what happened to your mother?" Ethan looked at Jackie, his eyes full of tears that hadn't yet fallen. He hesitated for a moment before speaking in a low voice. He shouted at her. Then she fell to the ground. She said she'd be fine, but I know she wasn't. Jackie felt a lump in her throat. Ethan's words were simple, but they carried a crushing weight. He knew they needed to act quickly. Standing up, Jackie signaled to the officers who had returned to the restaurant after putting Harris in the patrol car. "He's afraid to go home," Jackie told Officer Ramirez, "and he's worried about his mother. We need to leave as soon as possible." Ramirez nodded, pulling out a small notepad to write down the address. Officer Vega knelt down next to Ethan, speaking in a gentle tone. "Ethan, can you take us to your house? We'll make sure your mother is all right." Ethan hesitated again, looking at Jackie for reassurance. When Jackie nodded, the boy gave a shy little wave. "I can show you, but he always locks the door. I don't know how to get in." Jackie put her hand on Ethan's shoulder in a reassuring gesture. "Don't worry, we'll sort it out." As the officers prepared to leave, Vega was informed by a restaurant employee that Harris had left a small backpack on the table, probably in his haste to leave. She brought the bag over to the table where Jackie and Ethan were sitting. Outside, Harris shouted from inside the patrol car, "You're making a mistake. You have no proof. I'm an innocent man." Ramirez ignored the protest, while Vega helped Jackie and Ethan into the police car. Along the way, Jackie tried to keep Ethan calm, telling him little stories to distract him. "Did you know that toy cars are quite easy to fix? I'm sure that when all this is over, we can fix yours." For the first time, Ethan smiled slightly, although his eyes still seemed distant. "Do you think my mother will be all right?" he asked. Jackie looked at him and answered sincerely, "We're going to do everything we can to make sure she's okay." As the car approached Ethan's house, the atmosphere became tense. The street was eerily quiet, and the windows of the house were dark. Vega noticed that the front door was slightly ajar, causing Ramirez to brake immediately. "Stay here," he ordered Jackie and Ethan, as he and Vega got out of the car with their guns in hand. Jackie turned to Ethan and said softly, "Stay with me. We won't let anything happen." Outside, the policeman moved cautiously towards the house. The silence around them seemed more threatening than any noise. When Ramirez pushed open the door, what they found changed everything. The inside of the house was in complete chaos. Furniture had been overturned, signs of a struggle, and broken objects littered the floor. Moving carefully, Ramirez and Vega discovered Sarah, Ethan's mother, unconscious on the living room floor with a small cut on her head. Despite the seriousness of the situation, she was still alive. Paramedics were called immediately. While Sarah was being stabilized by the paramedics, Vega and Ramirez went through a notebook found in Harris's backpack. They discovered detailed notes revealing that Harris was monitoring Sarah and Ethan's movements, controlling their actions, and planning to kidnap the boy to take him to another state. This discovery confirmed the seriousness of Harris's crimes, including abuse and attempted kidnapping. Outside, Harris, now handcuffed and sitting in the back seat of the police car, watched the activities with a grim expression. He muttered threats as he was led away by the officers. Jackie, on the other hand, kept her focus on Ethan and Sarah. The boy held Jackie's hand tightly and asked if he would stay with them. With a warm smile, Jackie promised, "I will stay with you until everything is sorted out." The hospital was shrouded in the soft light of dawn, bringing the promise of a new beginning. Sarah rested in a quiet room, connected to devices that monitored her recovery. Sarah was visibly pale, but her face conveyed relief that she was finally safe. Ethan was by her side, carefully holding her hand, while Jackie stayed close by, making sure they both felt comfortable and protected. After tense hours, the doctor entered the room with good news. "She's out of danger. Her injuries were not serious, and with rest, she will make a full recovery." Ethan let out a deep sigh of relief, and a small, shy smile appeared on his face as he looked at Jackie. It was a silent gesture of gratitude for all the support. A few days later, Sarah was discharged from hospital. Although still emotionally shaken, she showed enormous gratitude for all the help she had received. Before leaving, she turned to Jackie with tears in her eyes and said, "I can't thank you enough. You saved our lives." Jackie, always humble, replied with a warm smile, "I was just in the right place at the right time. The real hero here is Ethan. He had the courage to ask for help." Ethan, now holding his repaired cart, gave a shy smile. Jackie had arranged for the toy to be repaired, a small reminder that even broken things can be restored after hard times. Inspired by this experience, Jackie decided to do more. He contacted a local organization that supported victims of domestic violence, offering financial assistance and helping to raise the profile of the cause. He also kept in touch with Sarah and Ethan, making sure they both received the support they needed to rebuild their lives. Months later, Jackie was invited to a ceremony organized by the police to honor Ethan. The boy was awarded the title of Young Hero for his bravery in seeking help and saving his mother. During the event, Ethan gave Jackie a drawing. It showed a boy and a man holding hands with the words, "My hero," written in colorful letters. Jackie smiled and said, "The real hero was you, Ethan. Asking for help takes more courage than anything else. If this story has touched your heart, don't let it end here. Share it with someone who needs to be reminded of the power of empathy and courage. And of course, subscribe to the channel for more inspiring stories that show how small gestures can transform the world. Want to continue being inspired? Click on one of the videos that are appearing on your screen right now and immerse yourself in another narrative that will warm your soul. See you in the next video.